Will, I've been thinking a lot about the camera in Is This Thing On, specifically the relationship that your character has in the movie to male vulnerability and intimacy, but also Matthew Libatique is such an amazing cinematographer, and he's worked with Bradley Cooper now 3 times. In that writing process, when you're working with Mark Chappell and Cooper, are you considering his cinematography, Libatique's cinematography, in terms of the closeness and how you're going to approach certain scenes, knowing the intimacy and the nature of that camera?
The first iterations of the film, no. Once Bradley came on and started rewriting, and he had such a specific idea of how he wanted the film to be. And early on, his first sort of note sessions with us before Bradley did a rewrite was all about us understanding how he saw the film. He describes it as the first time Alex is on doing stand-up, that he wants to see Alex's face fill the frame, if you will, be right there in a very sort of an extreme close-up, if you will. Bradley was very intent on that. And so when we started the rewrite process, and really once Bradley did his rewrite, it was about very much written to that, understanding the relationship of the camera and what vision Bradley had for the film, for sure. And Bradley operated most of the film himself.
It's his first time as well, right? As a camera operator,
that's right? Yeah.
Did that change your approach at all to your performance in terms of that closeness to the camera and having Cooper, as a camera operator on set with you?
Well, I don't know if it changed it. It's just the way that it was. I hadn't really, because I felt like such a novice in this world of making a dramatic film in this way, I don't think I fully appreciated what that would be. Once we started doing camera tests and Bradley was operating and we understood that was how he wanted to shoot it, and he started to really show me how he wanted it to be, I understood, and it became very much the language of the film. Him very close to me on a 40 millimeter lens, right in my face and talking to me and moving with the camera and it with me and not a lot of, we never really did blocking per se. Bradley always had obviously he knew how he wanted to compose the shot, but just told us to move in that way, and he captured it in the way that he had sort of designed.
And you feel that intensity and that vulnerability, especially when, there's a moment in the movie where it's on Laura Dern, and you can still feel that camera, observing and watching, but in a way that feels like it's non-judgmental, and it's having that conversation with the audience.
It's a very vulnerable position to be in. You know that you're right there. There's nowhere to hide. And so in that moment, she's watching her soon-to-be ex-husband talking away about them and their relationship. And you see her absorbing that and going through that. And that process is very interesting with Bradley. Bradley, the entire time as he's there, even with Laura, in that moment specifically, is talking to Laura through that scene. Even though I'm on stage on the other side of the Comedy Cellar, sort of 10 yards away or whatever it is, Bradley's right there and he's talking to her. And he's telling her, he's sort of helping her through that scene. What do you see? You're watching Alex on stage. He's saying this. What's he saying to you? He's walking her through that in this very intimate way. That's the way that he makes movies.
Was there any direction that he gave you that helped through your performance? Because it's an amazing work, and it's almost like you're being rediscovered as a dramatic actor in the way that I look at someone like Michael Keaton when he did Batman and Beetlejuice and then did something like Clean and Sober.
Yeah, Michael Keaton, one of my North Stars. I think he's an example of a guy that you don't have to stay in a lane if you don't want to. For me, it wasn't so much about proving anything other than to myself that I could maybe do something like this, and having Bradley really tell me that he thought this was something I could do, and he wanted me to really investigate that and be honest. And so, yeah, the direction was always very simple, which was no acting, which was let's be really stripped down and to be behaving as much as what this character demands in every moment. And what that means. And that means like just total vulnerability and to strip it all away and no tricks and really listen, be sensitive to the material. And what does that make you feel? And what happens in this scene? And if you I have the luxury of having co-written with Bradley, so I understand where Alex is it's almost like a cheat code.
Yeah.
Because you understand where he's at. So it's less conversations by the time we're shooting because we know we have an understanding where he's at. But now he's in that situation. What is Alex thinking in that moment? Hopefully you don't feel like you're watching something as much as you're part of it. The camera is that vehicle, the camera is the audience in there. In the middle of the scene. And then when you're in their faces, in Laura's face or in my face, in those moments, you're there in this conversation. And we are demanded to be there too. No, you not acting, just behaving in those moments.
Is there any room for spontaneity or to find a scene and let it play out? Because there are moments that feel so natural in terms of conversation. I keep thinking about the scene between you and Kieran Hines outside of the Comedy Cellar near the end and how beautiful it is, but also it feels realistic to how maybe both of these men would communicate based on different generations.
Yeah, I think that, we have a script, and then we always shoot the script, and then if you get additional stuff, that's great. Kieran brought a really great, first of all, he was so brilliant in the film, and he brought this really beautiful sort of human moment, and this moment between a father and son. When he says it's rare. I mean, that's Kieran. Because, I think that he's in that moment, and he's inspired by all of it, and in that moment he says those words to Alex. And it's less about improvising and more about an extension of this character that he's now inhabiting.
And you can even see that with the different generations, because even the way that Alex talks to his children and, is there to be with them when they need him and to, hug them when they're scared or afraid about, I think about the file folder and the joke book specifically. But I did want to ask you about how much of the script, once you got to shooting stage, changed in terms of the character's professional life really is only mentioned in passing. Briefly. Financing.
Yeah.
Was that something that was important for you to kind of keep out of the narrative, but also still bring in, like, say, that file folder, which feels like something that's coming in from his work life?
He mentions that he's in finance off camera. It wasn't important to us. It doesn't matter what he does. And that's a different movie for what we're doing. I think that was our feeling. The file folder, him writing down stuff that he has with Jill when she finds his notes in the comedy club, and then the kids, a couple of scenes later, they find it in the car. It's indicative of a life that he had before, one that is very structured, that he is, and it's also generational. As one where he's holds on to these sort of old-fashioned ideas, and it's part of his. It's funny in that scene where he has the file folder and he forgets what he wrote down. And it forces him, and she does remind him, but it forces him in that moment to be in the moment. She makes a joke about what's written on the thing, and he reacts to it. And all that reacting happened in real life. That's not true. I wouldn't need to write it down anyway, I don't. All that stuff, that comes from, and I think that those are the moments, the breakthrough moments for him, when he's able to let go of that. She's pointing out that he's rigid and got this old way. And also for me, as a performer, I didn't know exactly how that was going to go. And then those moments get discovered, and I have a real laugh to what she said, and then they will have a real laugh with the audience and a real moment. And yeah, I think that that's kind of where hopefully some magic is found.